Hey, what's up, y'all? How's it going? I just finished an awesome interview. I'm still kind of floored by it. It's not every day you get to do one of your first interviews on something crypto specific and really covering the digital asset that is Holochain in depth. I mean, for like nearly an hour long interview as an investor in Holochain itself. I have stake. I am biased in my opinion, but then where there's a difference between biased and unbiased is who's more researched. And what I've done in the one video I posted, an hour and 24 minutes, I give you a thorough critique and I demonstrate what you should be doing as an investor, as someone putting your money to work to make more money for you. Is, are you, do you know your product inside and out? And that's what I strive to encourage people to do in becoming a participant in market. As cryptocurrencies gain adoption in the real world, whether that's through something that's NFT minted, whether that's a real estate contract or a stake in real estate, or a stake in a digital art collection, or a patient profile that travels with the patients themselves, or some kind of AI and machine, learned type program. This is where we are in society, and it's better to keep pace than to keep in the dark about opportunity, because generational wealth will be had in our lifetimes. Home ownership is still a possibility. If you're young and you've got student debt that scares you, it shouldn't. You should be rolling over and waking up to a paycheck every day if possible. Nobody should handle or own your funds, right? Like, that's why I say I'm not a financial advisor, because I'm not going to tell you where to send your money or where to spend your money. You're going to do your own research and make calculated decisions, like the individual, like someone who's capable of being their own person, right? And engaging in a decentralized system is about, self agency. And I like Holochain. I like my agent centric specific systems. I like P2P platforms. I like off chain product with on chain solutions. I like economic friendly. And I don't want anybody to feel like that they can't play this game. I know I'm very blessed to have a large vocabulary, but, you know, I remember something my dad used to say to me, and he's like, I know you think I'm stupid, or, I never want anybody to ever feel like like they can't keep up or keep pace. It's just time in and time out. And, the way you would speculate for a product, you really do have to grow your acumen and speak the language, because people can't speak past you when they quickly realize that you understand everything that's being said. And when you can sort of make the abstractions that I make, my abstractions come from speaking the language. And, one of the first things I did before I even started investing, one of the first things I did was I sat down and I read one of the language libraries for a coding system. Do I know how to code? No. But what I am capable of doing is reading a white sheet or a white paper listing, the product offering on the digital asset itself, and having some kind of determinants on whether or not it's worth spending money on. And more importantly is if I walk away today, I have a grasp on what its value might be tomorrow. So if my time of buy, my TOB, and that's not a phrase you'll find in any glossary set of term, but my time of buy, or TOP, time of participation, you can make it whatever you want it to be. We're that new in this frontier. Is, when I do come across it, I'll buy. Like, people are looking at Harmony and like, oh, why didn't I buy on it? It's still a great time to buy the asset. That's not advice, I'd give to you, because if you had asked me and had a relationship with me, you probably would have purchased it at zero point 0.3 cents, because you would have said, Edward, I need 10 new options. I have between, I want to look at sub dollar range. I want to look at sub penny range. I want to look at, in the $50 range. What's going to go from 50 to 100, Edward? And I'll give you the research where you can make your own decisions. And that's what I really want for people, is to have the agency to where they can do it for themselves. But because they're worth so much, this is where I come into play, and I am someone who can make a tremendous amount of use of time in a short amount of time based on what I'm able to gather, scour, and collect. And for that person who felt like, oh, the language is, oh, I use a lot of big words. Don't worry, that's my gift. My gift is that I have a vocabulary in the 98th percentile. So, when my dad used to struggle, I would finish his sentences. So this is where I'm gonna, just kind of clarify and sort of look for some common words that might throw people off, and I'm gonna provide explanations as in the definition. So, what I love about when that person was like, oh, we use a lot of big words. Well, I'm like, hey, I have, I could answer any word that you might be curious about, because like literally, like I'm on that point, right? Like you can ask me anything and I should be able to give you an answer, or I can find you an answer because I'm thorough with it. So let's talk about definitions and terms. Let's go into the word block. So in section B, a block is defined as a file in which blockchain data like transactions is stored. Each block relates to its previous block, making it a chain. This is why it's called blockchain. Most blockchains have a predetermined maximum file size per block. The file block is a blockchain is called the Genesis block. So remember, it doesn't get bigger. It just means more has to be added, more space has to be accumulated. And this is how we get into that 109 terawatt territory. And that's what people are like, well, I want to make a lot of money, but then do you want to make a lot of money and do a lot of damage? Well, okay, cool. Blockchain is for you. Bitcoin is for you. But you know what? Again, we can make a lot of money without having such, ecological, detriment. It doesn't have to be one or the other. We deal in such absolutes, and I get that. That is the confines of many schooling systems. But now you can have both. You could have fortune, you could have tech, and you could have, sustainable ecological conditions. We don't have to kill our environment to mine something on it for the digital spectrum. Moving on, one thing I get asked a lot: what's an altcoin? As far as an altcoin, let's see where we got this one. Let's see, for an altcoin. So an altcoin is commonly described as a cryptocurrency or a token created after what Bitcoin was developed. So you have Bitcoin and pretty much everything else comes out to be. So that's why you see altcoin season. It's like, yeah, altcoins. And it's because now it's, everybody else's turn to become the Bitcoin. I really do want to get back to the Discord, because I really want to say thank you to everyone who participated and made it completely possible for me to go into detail and espouse on what Holochain is and what, opportunities in Holochain presents to people. People who are investing aren't just investors. They're also people who probably get into web hosting and other forms of development and really gain on, right? Like, it's, you just don't throw on a turtleneck and be like, hey, I'm an investor. The whole purpose for the turtleneck is to highlight, what, you too can be Steve Jobs. And the difference between owning an Apple type company is you owning an apple orchard. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, if you own your own Fortune 500 company, or at least participate in a market where Fortune 500 companies participate, like web hosting, which is supposed to be a massive economic opportunity, $216 billion industry by 2025. And you could be web hosting at home with your family. You know what I mean? Like available to friends and family. We've learned about wealth accumulation in the wrong way, and we can make money without being distant from the ones we love. So, let's continue back on with the definition. I really want to touch on the Internet of Things. This one can be sort of tricky for people, and you'll see it often described as IoT, right? So IoT is a global interconnected network of devices, sensors, and software that can collect and exchange data with each other in real time over the internet. So IoT is really critical to healthcare. And this is one of the things that, you see as far as having a secure corporate network. How many times we've seen healthcare systems being hacked, right? Well, in Toronto, wow, I'm so Scarborough. I was like, yo, you don't understand, dog. Like, yo, IoT. But patient data is of the utmost importance, and it should be something we keep secure. And IoT, the Internet of Things, once you get different devices connecting into a network, you have different security issues, right? Well, the benefit of a system like Holochain is it solves issues relating to interoperability. So basically, it means different language. Well, you know what? We're not going to have miscommunication and someone stealing the data somewhere in between. Where you're going to have is interoperability. You know what I mean? You're going to have interoperability because different language are going to be able to mesh, and you're not going to have insecure instances on devices that are on the fringe of the network. So, for example, this is the end of the network, this is the device, and you have it being inundated, sort of like a brute force attack that you would see on a router, for example, right? But the difference is because you have a secure network, it's going to know that whatever messages that are coming from this or trying to get into it will now knows that it needs to be secure, and it's going to be either isolated or better secure in the network. It's going to be identified. It's going to stand out. This is where it's headed, and I love it because remember, you have other people who are validating what Holochain is capable of in real time. There are other healthcare based cryptos, but none that are first layer. I shouldn't say that there aren't none, but I will say Holochain is where my heart is, so forgive me. Now there's DHT, and we talk about distributed hash tables or hash. Not hash from the 80s. Don't get me wrong. I feel you. Let me just expand that. So in order to, let's talk about DHT real quick. So distributed hash tables. Let me see if I got that one cooking up somewhere. So this should almost be finished. So I'll actually go write that hash. See, there's bare instances. Okay, so hash. Hash is the shorthanded for cryptographic hash function. So and then as far as like a hash rate, measurement of performance that reveals how many hashes per second your computer is capable of producing. Each hash is an attempt to find a block by creating a unique block candidate and testing it against the network. So this is one of those things where we talk about Holo utilizing unused computing capacities, right? So whether that's through, the device you have or setting up your own tower, this is where, the system gets faster the more people interact with the system. And that's how you're able to really ensure that speed within the network. Hodl's a cute one. Hold on for dear life. Legend has it was somebody who was drunk, was trying to tell someone to hold on to something, or I'm holding this. And then essentially it's become a term that's meant to refer to holding on to a specific digital asset. It really did originate when someone mistyped the word, and now it's taken on a life of its own. Let's see. I know this one. This one's gonna be nice. Oh, immutable. Immutable, a property that defines the inability to be changed, especially over time. So when we talk about smart contracts, the reason why that's important for something to have a smart contract on it is because it's immutable. It means it can't change. It can only be destroyed. So we said we're going to talk about sharding. So sharding is a way of, I don't even have to play anymore. Hold on. Let me take a sip. Let me take a sip of this coffee right here. And by the way, thank you for geeking out with me. We're trying to do tech and suddenly we're having an English lit class. But class wouldn't be lit if we weren't all able to make sense of common language that's not so common to everybody, because after all, we're coming from different walks of life. But the Holoverse is inclusive, and I want you to feel included. So I want you to have some semblance of understanding. And so sharding, you could think of when a glass breaks, right? That glass is gonna break. I almost grabbed my grinder, and I was gonna be like, yeah, when glass breaks, I'm not putting my grinder on the internet. But basically, you got one thing, right? And what ends up happening is, it's gonna destroy, and when it destroys, you're basically gonna have a bunch of pieces. And that's kind of what sharding is. Sharding is a way of splitting up the full blockchain history. So each full node doesn't need the whole copy of it. It's considered a scaling solution for blockchains because as they grow larger, it begins to slow the network performance if every node is required to carry the full blockchain. And so sharding's cool, but it doesn't solve the full scalability issue. It's a temporary solution in the interim that keeps everybody mining or hosting or doing their master node thing. You're like, well, what's a node? I got you. There's nothing you can't ask me in regards to specific terms that I can't answer. I'm on that level right now. So let's see where we're at. Node, I want to get into it's the most basic unit of a blockchain infrastructure that stores data. So you could think of it like a nucleus in a cell, right? I'm trying to find a way to draw it. So this could be considered the node, and this could be considered the blockchain, right? This is the most basic unit of blockchain infrastructure. This is all your infrastructure. This is your node. And that's all it's doing. It's just storing a little bit of data. You want to learn more about nodes because you're going to want to become a master node if you ever want to pool and stake and try to attain more, of a particular chain. I might, harp on certain blockchain, but in the crypto sphere, you know what? How can I describe it? We're all here to make an opportunity for ourselves. And my ranch in Wyoming looks a lot different from your ranch in Wyoming. So, you know what? Do your research, and you're gonna start to learn more. So there's another term, for example, you're going to want to know this one as far as it goes towards like holding wallets. So non-custodial usually refers to the storage of keys. In relation to wallets or exchanges, a non-custodial setup is one in which private keys are held directly by the user. The next one, and the reason why that's important is because you want to know who has access to what, if there's a backup key, and you should be familiar with how things are stored and how to protect your assets. You should really be on top of your stuff. You secure your network at all times. NFTs are non-fungible tokens, so the cryptocurrencies that don't possess the property of fungibility. So you're like, yo, what's fungibility? Well, you got to understand what fungible means first, right? And this is where we get into this fun part of things. Oh, I still got to build up that section. I love it. I got some work to do. Oh, I hadn't even gotten that far yet. Okay, so let's see. And fungible is able to. So non-fungible is like a one-of-one type of thing, right? Like you have one of the asset, whereas fungible means you can make more, and you're able to replace by another identical item, mutually interchangeable. But let's make sure we're very concise in that understanding, because we're gonna want to know what that means when we started dealing with NFTs. Oh, okay. And there's another interesting aspect that I'm missing in the NFT because I want you to really walk away with a meaningful understanding, right? So a non-fungible token is individually unique and can be used as an identifier for an individual object. A fungible token is like, I have this asset and it doesn't matter which one I have, but I'm going to give you a bunch of these assets. That's more of a fungible property, right? It's in exchange of X amount of units for X amount of different units with no correlation towards of like which one it is. So remember that an NFT, a non-fungible token, is individually unique. So when you go to get a minted asset in reference to like, percentage of land, right? And you have that digital certificate, make sure that it's a non-fungible token and that it's individually unique with identifiers specific to that individual object. So there's that. The other ones I want to kind of cover is P2P and FUD. We can talk about FOMO. FOMO is nothing special, like fear of missing out, and it's more of a psychology. It's just like people get scared and they sell, people get scared and they buy, and it's something where if you do your research, you tend to not like do reactionary buying or reactionary selling. So yeah, let's go back into P2P. And again, peer-to-peer isn't really one of those things that really need to do much explaining. In a peer-to-peer connection, two or more computers network with each other without a centralized third party being used as an intermediary. So, if you're from the LimeWire generation, or if you've ever been kind of like on Silk Road, like, or like hosted anything before, or played a video game, or on like a centralized network where, in order to play the game, you had whoever opened it, suddenly the server became stronger. Like, I went to a computer school. We were bad. Like, well, not bad. Like, we were just ahead of our time, and we didn't have anybody to cultivate the youthful energy that we had. But we put games on the servers. Like, we were about it. You know what I mean? And that shouldn't be new to you. But also, too, if it is new to you, don't feel ways about it. Some of us have been in this space a lot longer, and we're just realizing like how much of our youth has benefited us to, reclaim our youth and return to these types of tech domains. An ICO is initial coin offering. If you've ever invested into the market, IPO, initial, what is it? IPO. Sometimes I draw blanks too, right? Because there's just a lot to process. And it's an initial public offering, so that's where companies sell more traditional assets such as stocks and bonds in order to raise money. And an ICO, well, in this tech space, this is what we do. We do coin offerings so we can, fulfill our tech obligations, right? So, and an ICO represents the first time that an organization offers digital tokens to the public in an effort to raise money. Companies frequently hold these offerings so they can finance projects. So what's neat about this is like, if I wanted to start my own coin, which I could, it's what's unique about it is I could basically create a surplus supply of 100 to 250 billion. I could do initial coin offering of holding, explaining what my circulating supply distribution will be, and whoever my early market buyers are, basically it'll be a public-private sale where it's open to the public, but it's private in the sense where I'm not advertising it publicly. It's just those who've invested in other product and know me get first dibs. Or it's closed market sale, like what Coinbase will do, and with their IPO, once they go public, remember, they just paid a $6.5 million fine, took a slap on the wrist, and it's business as usual. And because the reason why is because, we all know what's going to happen when that $350 IPO gets dropped. People are going to jump in, and whoever's opened up is going to leave opportunity for early entrant market players to really do some damage. So when you do buy into Coinbase's IPO or any other exchange's IPO, do be careful of that. Do your research. always keep an eye out for different ICOs. When you hear people talk about ICO, don't make the mistake of like not knowing the language and missing out an opportunity. It's like a music artist that signs a music deal, right? You don't know the language and you're giving up a point. Well, I don't want a point, I want millions. I don't want the point. Give me the 50,000, right? 50 Cent kind of talks about this and why some of his, people that he's worked with hasn't really materialized into the same, economic output that he has, and it's just language in the contract and understanding the meaning in the contract. So that's why it's important. APY is something you need to know, because when you see like options to earn on your investment on holding and sort of like just like acting pooling and doing master node type work through that type of work, APY simply means annum per year, and that's in reference to what you could be saving or earning. For example, this a friend of mine, he'll enjoy this. So I'll talk about year in finance, for example. It's some people they have a flex staking option and they're holding onto their asset, and for other people it's vaulted, right? So it's held for years, and in year in finance they use Y vaults. And it's a feature of their protocol which automates the process of yield farming. Users deposit tokens into a Y vault, then Yearn borrow stablecoins against the user's asset. The stablecoins are then used for yield farming in various protocols, with the vault shifting strategies as opportunities change. As gains are realized on the stablecoins, Yearn converts the gains back into the user's original asset, and the user's rewards are paid in that asset. Each Y vault has a different annual percentage yield. So this is one of those things where like you didn't know that. But like, there's not just one coin, but there's many coins and there's many opportunities. It's called alt season because it's not all about Bitcoin. It's all about you and the alternatives that you can make this quarter and for the season to come, right? Summer's getting longer, winters are getting shorter. So expect more opportunity for you to enjoy the warmer weather in front of you. I don't know what else to really say. Maybe white paper. A white paper is written by those that are launching a new digital coin. It explains everything about the coin that someone may want to know. So that's really good that you could actually, find a document breaking down, an understanding of the company. I don't see why that should be something difficult to grasp. It should be a breakdown. Gas is another thing you're gonna hear people talk about. Don't get overwhelmed by a lot of the lingo. It's really important for you to understand the assets that you're dealing with, and not limiting yourself. When you hear the word gas is what's used to send Ethereum. So when and as well as ERC20 tokens across the network. So this is something I didn't know early on when I was trading, right? I thought holding stablecoin would mean I'd be able to track and understand the value of my asset. What I didn't understand when I was trading some of these ERC20 tokens, and look at your token, like understand like if it's a regulated asset, because depending on what the value of gas that day is, or the number of users trading on, say, like an Ethereum network is, there's going to be a cost. And what you think might be a gain was like a 4K gain and you're walking away with a big bag, really might only feel like a 3K gain once you like realize it. And that's something I encourage people to do the math on, right? Is like, you can know what your exchange rate and fees are, but what happens when activity on the exchange reaches a high and suddenly your gas fees are also of a high? This is it's important to make friends along the way, because in many areas of life there wasn't always somebody mentoring me, and I wish I had a mentor. But also too, when you can't find a mentor, what you have to do is become a teacher and a student of the discipline. And if you're disciplined enough to sit in front of what you need to learn, you are going to do fantastic. You're going to do well, because time is money, and the time you invest in yourself means that you're going to see the same gains in your investment. It's a lot easier than you think, and I wish you would take the time to participate. you know, you're never really going to understand what crypto is and what it can do for you until you actually, you know, secure your network and participate. $20, $50, it changes your life. Because sooner or later you're going to realize, like, wow, I could make a lot of money fast. Great. But I could lose a lot of money really fast. But you make a lot of money faster and you hodl, hallelujah. You hold a lot of your bag, your bank. You don't lose that Lambo when you have research backing you and you're able to operate in real time. Before I go, I know this is long. This is a 30-minute video. And by the way, my videos are going to be as long as they need to be. So, yeah. So one of the ways I'm able to make trades in real time and sort of execute is because I'm working on this, this, like, you could say, like, this mental architecture. And what it is, it's sort of like a visual of, like an Excel spreadsheet, so to speak. And when I see a value and I look at chart position, I can already, place my lines. I don't need to go make a chart. I can place my lines, you know what I mean? And put that scale factor of, like, what this becomes and these values as they're ticking and as they're changing. And you want to be like, the system for the most part is going to short you on your trades. So you actually have to anticipate on your buying or on your selling, at that volatility. A lot of people when they're trading, they're not looking at the volume of sales and activity as it's happening. So that's something else to consider as well. Like, chances are, if you're doing this with one screen, you might want to step it up. Like, there's some war rooms out there. There are some people with screens. They got, if Houston, I have a problem, is never an issue. They ready for interstellar war. And that's the goal to get to that point as well. So again, thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Also, too, I just got to do another, shameless plug. If you get a chance, go check out the Holochain live 24/7 mission to 1 cent. We're at 191 subscribers, and I'd really like to see it get to the 200 subscribers and a lot more, because growing the Holochain community takes community, and this is what that project's about, and this is what we support is, more inclusion and more participation in a growing market. So if you're already invested in any crypto project, I just want you to give yourself a pat on the back for being, amongst the less than 1% in a world that's going to change quite rapidly. Like, I live, in Toronto, and Toronto is about to become a hub, a tech hub. I don't know what your part of the world looks like, but if it's not going to become a tech hub, I question what it would take for you to make it a tech hub, because that is market opportunity for you, my friend, and a wealth of opportunity for you. So, I know this isn't the glitz and glamour of a price prediction as to what you want, but hopefully being able to, break down what you hear over time, or being able to process it later on when you're able to grasp what you've heard, will make it a lot easier to go forward. That's when people say, like, this provides proof of stake and it does sharding. I'm like, okay, cool. You do, like, cash terminal transactions. You take debit payments. I mean? You're suddenly not wowed by fancy terms and fancy words, because you understand what it means, and you see and you look for inherent value beyond. So again, this has been another episode of BigBlackCrypto, and I hope I've helped you grow in your acumen so you can grow your appetite this alt season. Happy hunting. Enjoy the bull run. Shout out to Johnny Stang and Marvin. That interview was an awesome experience. So thank you. And I can't believe it. Once you started talking and I forgot we were live, I should have clicked the video. It would have been nice to see everybody's face and get everyone more honest. So thank y'all, and more videos to come. Shout out to all my Kryptonians, all my Holo Tubians. Good day.